We need you to run the board. We're going to set the tie line up outside. we're gonna set up on the sidelines.
Actually, Tom's been advocating for us to do outside shows for quite a while.
I know. That goes back to when I was first here.
I like it. It's a good idea.
I have no problem, no qualms setting up. And you notice if you look outside in the alley where the bricks are, there's window outlines. Let's knock out some bricks. Let's cut a hole in the wall. We can run some cables out there. We'll just set up in the alley. Put a fan next to the dumpster, blowing the smell away, and just hang out in the alley. We'll be King of the Hill Part 2.
We can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be even better right now because we could go out there and enjoy the weather, but also be sad that it's super nice outside during Christmas.
I was telling you, when I got into my car was still on Christmas music from when my wife drove it yesterday, and it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and my dashboard is reading 65 degrees. It is not looking like Christmas. But I will tell you, I rolled up all the way down here with the windows down.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, so nice.
I just don't like it, man. I need it to be wintry weather. If I can get 1 week, let's make it this week.
Yeah, you got it last week.
I know, yeah, and it was a week early.
Welcome to Oklahoma.
Oh,
it's going to be 90 until February, and then there will be like 4 of the worst weeks of your entire life.
Right. Well, I'll just go back to Missouri for Christmas, and it'll snow, and then
you'll get stuck
rain,
up there.
and then it'll have sun, then a tornado in the same day.
We'll be walking around down here with shorts on, and you'll be snowed in.
Yeah, man, it drives me crazy. Show today brought to you by Bad Brad's Barbecue, West 6th, 5302 West 6th. Their brand new location. You can call them at 377-4141. Today, it is the 21st, and you have until 6 p.m. to get your Christmas orders in. 6 p.m. That is less than 3 hours away. So you better call them at 377-4141. You can get 20-pound ready-to-go smoked turkeys, only $69.99. 7 to 9-pound spiral hams, $59.99. And get a 12-pound turkeys for only $49.99. So you make sure to get all those sides as well, but you have to do it by 6 o'clock tonight. There's your deadline. You heard it here first. Make sure you get it in. It's the best place to go for all your Christmas orders because we are just 4 days away from the most wonderful time of the year. It wasn't the most wonderful time of the year for Oklahoma State basketball yesterday in this dreadful Sunday afternoon time slot, which I will die on that hill. That should never happen. But here we are talking about it because, look, Oklahoma State went into this game against Texas, and I think there were somewhat of an expectation to for sure be in this game all the way through. And we actually nailed it, by the way. Zach, you and I did.
Yeah.
On Friday, we both said close loss.
Yeah.
It was close loss, for sure. Now, it wasn't all that close at times throughout the game. Hell, Oklahoma State had the lead at half, which I don't know how many people expected that coming in.
Well, and it was a decent lead.
Yeah, it was.
They went into the half with control.
Yeah. And this is a Texas team that this year, if you look at what they are capable of doing night in and night out, we could be seeing them really, really late in March.
Yeah.
And I mean that because they are extremely talented. And they've if you look at the wins they've got on their schedule already, you can add Oklahoma State to that, which is a solid one. North Carolina barely, and then they hung with Villanova. They were in that game against the top-ranked Villanova team. So you could put them up against anybody in the country, and I think they would be in the game. They showed that they're going to be able to dominate from a lot of different spots on the floor. And we knew that coming in, you were going to circle Greg Brown and say, okay, he has the potential, but you circle it twice against Oklahoma State because they are so susceptible at getting beat by big men. They just are. They don't have that size to combat that defensively, unfortunately. And that's so far, I know there's been a lot of them, but that's been one of their Achilles heels so far this season. It just so happens that Greg Brown is out there and decides to have a career game against Oklahoma State, and he was a defensive presence. He was scoring all the time. He's, all the way through. He can shoot it from the outside. He can get in and throw down NBA Jam-style dunks, which I thought a couple of them were just insane. And it was a little slap in the face to his former AAU teammate, Cade Cunningham. He said, hey, Cade, taste this. And Cade, 25 points. You look at the box score and you go, okay, well, he'd probably live with that. That's got to be a good game from him. But starting out, he was really loose with the ball. And it ended up being that way, too, as he finished with 6 turnovers. And one of them towards the end of that game was pretty detrimental to not being able to come back and beat Texas. Now, you look at that second half. Yeah, they were in control in the first half. It was one of those classic games where you can circle it and say, man, I wish there wasn't a halftime, right? Because Oklahoma State was rolling. And we've seen that a lot in sports before, where halftime, it just cuts off your momentum, and the best teams are able to obviously come back down and keep it up. Not the case with Oklahoma State. 17-0 run for Texas in that second half.
You gotta try to give up a 17-0 run.
That's unheard of.
That's bad.
You don't, and they didn't score for, I think it was over 4 minutes, 4 minutes and 10 seconds, I think. That's, like you said, there's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to pull that off. At some point, you're going to get a basket, or at some point, you're going to get a stop. But 17-0, and against a team like Texas, you think you're going to be able to come back from that? No, you're never going to be able to come back from that. You saw in the second half, a stupid mistake like a shot clock violation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a lack of discipline, a lack of awareness. And here we are, thrust into conference play. Those can't happen anymore. And so all of that against a team like Texas, they're going to capitalize on any little mistake you make, any little sliver that you give them a chance to come back. They're going to come in and dominate. And that all being said, there were some good moments for Oklahoma State, and I think they were in the game enough to obviously make it closer than Texas would have wanted. And there's not a lot of teams that even getting down on a 17-0 run to Texas would be able to come back and finish within 3 points. So I give Oklahoma State credit for the fight that they put up towards the end. But I think Mike Boynton hit on it perfectly after the game when he said, when we are doing the right things, we got to stay consistent and keep the foot on the gas. And that is something that Oklahoma State has struggled with against TCU, against Texas so far here in this Big 12 play. When they are on that roll, momentum's on their side, they don't press. And you have to be able to do that if you're going to win games in the Big 12. So not an ideal start. You should have beat TCU, that's for sure. Texas was probably, I mean, that was going to be, if you beat them, biggest game of the year, you were probably going to be looking at some serious top 25 consideration. No one ever expected, I even think, to be maybe this close. We said close win. I was thinking maybe 5-6, somewhere around there. They cut it to 3, blah, 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 whatever. But Texas was in control of this game from the start of the second half on, and it was never really close.
Well, I'm in the camp that I didn't expect a first half lead going into halftime, and it was a good lead. They were in control of that game for the final minute or two of the first half, and then Texas came out in the second half and kind of turned it on. And then when the big part was when Greg Brown nails 2 threes in a row. And then Boynton's got to call a timeout. Texas takes the lead roughly 7 minutes into the second half, and then that's a part of that 17-0 run. Oklahoma State doesn't turn it up. They don't start to come back until I think it was just under 5 minutes left to go in the second half. Cade starts to really turn it up, but and I'm not knocking it because you look at Cade and Cade finished with 25. There's no doubt that Cade is one of the best players in the country. There's no doubt he's one of the best players in the conference, and he's easily the best player on the team. Boynton keeps hitting on it. We keep hitting on it. The team has to be consistent, but Cade has to be consistent.
Yeah.
You look at his stats, Cade was 1 of 6 from three-point range. And that's something that you hear throughout non-con. Cade is not a strong three-point shooter.
And we knew that coming in.
Now, Cade will give you some good looks, and he'll nail some big shots when you need him to. Cade was 1 of 6. Cade picked up a technical, whether you agree with it being a technical or not, it was still a technical in the final 2 minutes of the ball game to give Texas 2 free throws after he just made a layup, essentially voiding out whatever bucket that Cade had just hit. Like you said, he had 6 turnovers, but you look at the rest of that number, right? So Cade finished with 3 rebounds, Cade finished with 3 assists, and he had no steals. I'm not expecting Cade to get 5 or 6 steals a game, but I expect him to have 5 or 6 assists a game, and he didn't really turn it on until the second half. We need to see that consistent play, and when you're going up against a guy like Greg Brown, and it's not even just Greg Brown, but you look, you've got Andrew Jones, he finished with 22 points. You look at Matt Coleman, he finished with 15 points. Those are huge, huge players. Well, Greg Brown finished with 24. And Greg Brown is, well, if you listen to the TV broadcast, Greg Brown is apparently the best player in college basketball, any level. Mm-hmm. Now he's good, but you've got to be able to guard inside, and that's that's an interesting point that I just brought up, I guess. But you look at it, and where is it? Right here. OSU scored 44 points in the paint. They limited Texas to just 24 points in the paint. Guard the perimeter.
Yeah.
Quit sending him to the free throw line. And that leads me to my next point. The two glaring stats on this box sheet that has been popped up for the last 2 or 3 weeks: free throws and three-pointers. If you look at Oklahoma State, they shot 20% from three in the first half, and they shot 50% from the free throw line in the first half. They shot 33.3% from three-point in the second half, and they only shot 72% from the free throw line in the second half. That equates to 29.4% from three in the game and just 61% from free throws. They were 13 of 21 from the free throw line. You make your free throws against TCU and you make your free throws against Texas, we're not even talking about this. Clearly, we're not talking about it. But Oklahoma State should be sitting at 2-0 in Big 12 play. And I think they're probably just about as close to being in the top 25 as one can get without actually being in the top 25.
Yeah, those are two really, really glaring stats. You have to be a good three-point shooting team in the Big 12. You just do. And that's college basketball anywhere.
I would take a moderate three.
Yeah,
I would just take 35% from three.
Right.
Because then you're looking at an extra 9 points a game.
Right.
And momentum swings.
And the thing with Greg Brown is, was the points, but he snatched 14 boards. And look at the second chance opportunities that were given up to Texas too. No one was blocking out. And that's a trend that has been lost anyways in college basketball too. Everyone just stands under the hoop. Got to find a body. That didn't happen a lot. Second chance points, second chance opportunities, and then of course, you pair Andrew Jones with what he did, shooting the basketball, to a guy like Greg Brown. That's a pretty solid 1-2 punch right there. You're not gonna beat it.
Texas had 18 second chance points.
That can't happen. That cannot happen
compared to just 5.
I mean, it's just that number. If you want to win a ball game, that number doesn't exist in the box score.
Texas also scored 19 points off of OSU's turnovers.
Yeah.
And OSU, you want to compare that. OSU scored 9 points off of turnovers. Texas had 12 turnovers in that game, and OSU had 13 turnovers. That's a pretty big discrepancy in points from.
And the thing with Cade is, you want, because we've had both sides of it already. We've said we want him to shoot more and attack more, and there's times where it's like, okay, spread the ball out. If he could find that middle ground, you're talking about really coming into his own. Yeah. And I understand the whole, we got to get him the ball in late situations. That's fine. But have we not seen already that TCU and Texas and Wichita State almost, found ways to limit him, and they know that, okay, he's going to get these final touches, so let's swarm him. There comes a time where it's like, I want him to be able to take that last shot, and I want him to be able to get in a situation where he wins us the ball game. But when you are completely overmatched and teams are selling out to stop you, got to move the basketball. There's other guys, and then Bryce Williams, I thought, really stood out in this one, and he showed what he can do. He stepped in for instance, there's barely any fair and flavors right now. Mm-hmm. He stepped in and played that role really well. Avery Anderson, I thought, played really well. You put them in and switch them up in the lineup, and it works out. You can't even keep Bernard Kuma in the starting lineup because he doesn't do anything when he's on the floor. And I thought Caleb Boone did better with a little bit, with what the time he was given. He made some second chance opportunities happen. He was cleaning it up on the glass a little bit, which is good to see. You just want more. There's so much there, you can get from him that you're not getting. So, and then there's no Isaac Likely in this game. He rebounded the ball, great, which is fine. But he's not scoring the basketball. He's not being able to get chances to drive. And I think they have to make room for him as well. We knew that was going to be one of the things coming in this year was Cade's team, Isaac's team. They find a way to mix it up, and everybody's getting a share here, and next thing you know, Oklahoma State is scoring like crazy, and there's a lot of different options that can put it in the hoop every single time. So there's a lot of things, and Oklahoma State's going into a couple weeks here of a break. There's a lot of things that they have to get fixed quickly because all of a sudden 0-2 in the Big 12, that's a snowball that if it starts rolling, you'll never be able to come back from. And you talk about getting a possible opportunity to make an NCAA tournament this year. If that were to happen, right, and it looks like it is for now, if that were to happen and you manage to not do that, you talk about a colossal disappointment. You got to use Cade while you have him. The team has to do that. And the other thing with Cade that I'm still, I guess, frustrated with, you want to see it all game. Why is it this whole flip the switch in the second half thing going on?
And that's something he hit on in the post game. He was like, well, I got to be able to turn it on sooner. You're one of the best players in the country.
Dude,
it should be on from the tip.
Yeah, you come out ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, and so if that could happen and he's able to somewhat control a game for 2 halves, we're not sitting here talking about 2 losses.
And I think, what you just hit on, you can't let runs like that happen, especially in Big 12 play. Go back to last year, right? So you lose Isaac Likely to mono. That's neither here nor there. But they lose to Georgetown. They lose to Wichita State. They somehow find a way to beat Houston and beat a decent Houston team. They lose to Minnesota by 20. You beat Southeastern Louisiana, which you're supposed to, by nearly 50 points. But then they lose by 35 to Tech. They lose by 14 to West Virginia. They lose by 12 to TCU. They lose by 12 to Texas. They lose by 7 to Baylor. They lose by 7 to Iowa State. And then you beat a Texas A&M team. But then you come out and you lose by 15 to Kansas. You get blown out of the water by OU and Norman. And then you finally beat TCU on February 5th. Oklahoma State has a much tougher schedule this year in Big 12 play than they did last year. You cannot come out and lose 8 or 9 Big 12 games, especially after a 13-day break. If they don't come back with, and they did a better job in this game of limiting their turnovers. It's still 13 turnovers. That's still a lot of turnovers, but it's certainly a lot better than 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 turnovers, right? They've got to be able to limit turnovers. Cade, I would be okay if Cade didn't turn it on to start a game if he were still creating for other guys. If we saw Ice with 8 or 9 first half points, if we saw him creating for MA down low or Caleb Boone down low or whatever, but we haven't seen that recently. Now, Cade is still really good. I'm not knocking Cade, but Cade can't score 25 points and only have 3 assists. Yeah. If you're not going to turn it on until midway through the second half, you need to be dishing the ball out. You can't, and you can't be turning the ball over. You can't have a game high 6 turnovers. That can't happen. And you got to be able to hit free throws. You have to. Free throws is key.
Get him on Twitter at ZLancaster91. I'm at the Patty Wheels. Yeah, Big 12 play is here and it's now. I mean, there's no more waiting around. And at this point, it's you coach through it. I mean, because there's a lot of times where you can come in, and I like what Mike Boynton does. But, man, after a few of these games, if it keeps coming on afterward and it's like, hey, this is the Big 12. We knew this was going to happen. Okay, well, let's get through it, I mean, you're asking your team to do a lot. I get it. But everybody else is in the same boat, man. You were thrust into conference play super early, so it's got to be turned on now. We'll get more into Oklahoma State basketball when we or later on in the show, I should say. Show brought to you by Bad Brad's Barbecue. Find anything else over there?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it during the break,
okay.
And we'll come out. It's about Monday Night Football tonight.
Okay, it doesn't have to do with basketball. Okay, I just want to make sure. Monday Night Football, that could be anything.
This is literally the thing you would not expect.
Okay.
You would never if I were to say what is something that you don't expect for Monday Night Football, this wouldn't even be last on your list.
Oh, great. We're going to find out what that is and surely share later on. A lot of stuff coming in today on the show from the NFL. Crazy weekend as well. We know Oklahoma State has a bowl game. We'll get into that, as well as one former Cowboy deciding to transfer. All still coming up here on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Yeah. Run it back. Tell them what I'm coming at. I was on the get there, now I'm done with that. Scared of what I didn't want, scared of what I wanted, and thought that I was finished, but I hardly had begun. In fact, I'm a beast.
Welcome back. Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster. Show today brought to you by Bad Brad's Barbecue. Make sure, again, you've got less than 3 hours to go get your orders in. 6 p.m. is the deadline today for your Christmas dinner orders. 20-pound ready to go smoked turkeys, only $69.99. 7 to 9 pound spiral hams, $59.99, and smaller 12-pound turkeys, only $44.99. And when you're doing that Christmas order, don't forget, you can get all those sides: green beans, potato salad, cowboy beans, cornbread. Man, that sounds good.
What a treat.
It just sounds fantastic. You can also get, how about this, any flavor of cobbler you can think of. So you have the turkey and the ham, and you're like, what's for dessert? Pumpkin is still up there, by the way. Cherry, apple, peach, blackberry.
Did you say pumpkin cobbler?
Yeah, I did. Oh, pies too.
Oh, I was like, pumpkin cobbler? Oh, my gosh.
Pies too.
That's what's up.
Pumpkin cobbler. Are we on to something there?
Yes.
Wait a minute. We might have just done something right there. Hey, man, it's
I'll let
perfect.
my mom know.
Yeah, that's right. Get her on that. Man, that sounds
Mom,
good.
we need a pumpkin cobbler.
Pumpkin cobbler.
So I lead us into this.
Yeah.
And we've got a phone call, and we'll get to you in like maybe 45 seconds. So don't hang up. I say this with the fact that I love the Muppets. I grew up with the Muppets. I love the Muppets. The Jason Segel Muppets movie is one of my favorites of all time. Am I a man or am I a Muppet?
Yeah.
If I'm a man, then I'm a Muppet of a man.
Classic.
Come
Classic,
on, I'm a
yeah.
Muppety man.
Yeah.
The Muppets will be a part of Monday's ESPN broadcast of the game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy will take part in the opening of the broadcast of the 8 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, serving as a broadcast team from a booth, according to a release from ESPN, with Fozzie Bear acting as a sideline reporter. I would venture to say that less than 75% of children in America under the age of 18 know what the hell a Muppet is, especially Kermit or Miss Piggy. That's
What
like,
child is watching Monday Night Football?
yeah, and this goes back to the whole Nickelodeon thing. Kids don't care.
I don't get it.
Like, the kid's not going to watch to see a football player get slimed in the end zone. It's not like you've got
Hey.
TikTok stars out there.
Here's the thing, okay?
Yikes.
And I told you this with ESPN. Monday Night Football used to be
Oh, the thing.
like, that was it. It was the classic, game of the week. Everybody was geared up for it. There was always a lot of really good competition on that game, and the spectacle of it was not overbearing, but it was simple enough, and it was also at the same time big enough to
Had
keep
to
you
watch
really
it.
intrigued, right? Yeah, that was the game of the week. And then recently, when they put Booger McFarlane and Joe Tessitore in the booth, people were clamoring. They're like, get those two out of the booth. It is terrible. ESPN finally changed that up, and they get these three other guys in there now with Steve Levy, Louis Riddick, and I forgot the other guy's name.
That goes to show you.
Yeah, they've got them in there. And, I was telling you, last year they were doing Monday Night Football, and for the first half of the season, they decided, at halftime, we're going to do these scheduled music video / virtual concerts of random hip-hop artists, people that watched them. They were so terrible. They had to get rid of that in the first half. I just feel like there's somebody at ESPN that reminds me of the moms in our lives. What I mean, let me tell you, you know where I'm going with this? Because what I mean by this is
man.
the mom comes up to you and says, hey, I just saw this rap song, and I really like it, and I think, the kids probably all like it.
Yeah. It's like
That's what they're doing at ESPN.
It's like you growing up, you desperately wanted a Super Nintendo in the early to mid 90s, and your mom came home with a Sega Genesis.
Yeah, they just feel like that.
I got the Nintendo you wanted, Mom.
And you have to act like you.
Oh,
Thank you, Mom.
Now I will say there were some real bangers on that Sega Genesis.
There really was.
The Batman game.
It's just ESPN reaching, man. They feel like they have to. I don't know what they're trying to do here. Let's make it more interesting. Let's get more viewers. And I told you, the layoffs that ESPN has done recently,
catastrophic.
terrible. No one watches their regular programming. The thing that keeps them afloat right now is the live programming of sports, and trying to ruin it here, man.
Your money doesn't come from children.
No.
Don't get Nickelodeon. You need to try to get back the viewers that you've lost.
Yes.
And it's not a bunch of 12-year-olds.
It's not a bunch of 12-year-olds.
I guarantee
completely
it.
agree. All right, let's go to the phone line.
Sorry, that was way more than 45.
Caller, you're on the afternoon sports drive. What you got
What
for
do you
us?
think of the Muppets? Would you watch Monday Night Football because of Kermit and Miss Piggy?
Yeah, but I'm also 50.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm almost 30, and I grew up with Kermit and the Gonzo, and I'd watch it for Fozzie. You put Fozzie in the booth, I'll watch anything. I'll watch cricket with Fozzie.
Yeah, I don't know why somebody didn't go, okay, well, since there's so many exceptions made this year, and I get the exceptions made this year because of COVID and everything so jacked up, but I would love to have seen a bowl game between Kansas and like the worst team in the Pac-12. And why didn't somebody do that? That would have been a game. I think a lot of people would have interest in that.
Well, and I saw a tweet yesterday. Army was not invited to a bowl.
How crazy is that?
The Army-Navy game is probably the most watched college football game every single year, maybe outside of the national championship game. You could put Army against a Division III school that no one's ever heard of, that's never won a football game, and more than half of America would turn in to watch. They would tune in to watch Army play. You're telling me you don't invite Army to a bowl game, but you're going to put 3-7 Arkansas in a bowl game?
9-2 on the season. They can't get in a bowl.
And Army's one of the most now. It's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and they're going to have a 9-minute drive where they put up they run 6 plays. But I would rather watch Army than Arkansas.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I want to see like the worst 2 teams in the country play.
And they'd put up a combined like 95 points.
Put Kansas and Vanderbilt in the bowl. Let's call it good.
Yeah.
Let's call it the toilet bowl. You get Charmin Ultra to sponsor it. Everybody gets free
bowl.
toilet paper. Yeah.
Hey, and you need toilet paper because people panic buy at Walmart.
It's a great idea. They missed out on that one, no doubt.
Yeah, really, because the thing is, the people that finish in the middle of the pack, nobody really cares. But you would like to see who really is the worst team.
Absolutely.
And I know you guys got a lot of things to cover, but I do want to hear later on when you get a chance. Look, it looked like to me when the Jets, they fired the guy who was trying to save their season by not covering receivers on the last play of the game a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not even going to cover guys on the last play of the game, and now you decide to win a game to take yourself out of the running for the number 1 overall pick, you let Jacksonville have Sunshine. That's just, and again, y'all don't have to answer that now, but I just wanted to hear you guys' opinion. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, appreciate it. No, that's coming.
Yeah, that's a second hour thing. And if
that is coming.
So if you're a 21, 22-year-old kid who's going to make millions of dollars, would you rather play for a terrible organization and live in New York City, or would you rather play for a terrible organization and live in sunshiny Florida?
Well,
but it's Jacksonville, to be fair.
It's not even Jacksonville.
It's not even like you're staying in, God forbid, Tampa, or certainly not in Orlando.
Are there any good places in Florida? Hold on, now I think about it.
I would take
Panama City. Let's go.
I would take Cocoa Beach. Over by
Siesta Keys.
Yeah, over by Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe portions of Miami.
Yeah.
But Jacksonville. Jacksonville and Tampa are the definition of Florida, man.
Oh yeah. Every time Florida Man story comes out, it's always there.
Local man from Jacksonville.
We're not going to say what part of Florida, but you all know what part of Florida.
The Panhandle.
The Panhandle. I think it's actually, and we won't spoil it too much here with what we're going to get to, but Trevor Lawrence is thrilled to death.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence just went and bought a couple lottery tickets.
Oh, he won it already because, for his situation he did, because he's going to be paired up with a stud running back, right, that they got on the cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, they got James Robinson for nothing, and he's having over 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown season as an undrafted free agent rookie. That dude's he's going to be the centerpiece with Trevor Lawrence. They have a couple of stud receivers on that team. They have a couple of good defensive players. Just got to get better offensive line, new head coach. I mean, wipe those two out, and Trevor Lawrence is sitting pretty with a much better opportunity because he was going to go to the Jets, and they were going to continue to struggle with Trevor Lawrence. The Jags, not saying that they're just going to be great right away, but they will be on to something when they get Trevor Lawrence on that team. That was just unbelievable what happened yesterday. Yeah, that's coming up in hour number 2 because the Rams decided to just completely Lamar Jackson the bed, I should say.
Did you see about the Butkus Award before we take this break?
I don't know if I
given
did.
to the nation's top linebacker.
Yeah.
If you just looked across the country at stats, who would you say the number one college linebacker in America is that's made the biggest impact on a college football team? He lives in Oklahoma if it makes it easy for you.
So it's got to be Amon.
Zaven Collins.
Oh, okay.
From Tulsa.
I thought you were talking about here at Oklahoma State.
He did not win the Butkus Award.
He didn't?
They gave it to Jeremiah Owusu-Kamara, the linebacker from Notre Dame. You're telling me that one of the best linebackers in recent memory.
Anybody with Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama attached to you, even if you're Oklahoma, it don't matter, man. It just doesn't matter.
It's ridiculous.
And yeah, college football playoff, by the way, you just heard the names I rattled off. Even though Notre Dame decided to just get completely hand-waxed by Clemson, and they barely beat them when they had their backup quarterback in. And I know Texas A&M was ticked off. And I think they had every right to be because their one loss was to Alabama. So is it fair to say they had a better, reason to be in the in the playoff? It's possible, but we all knew when those four teams came in. Let's stop acting like we never knew it wasn't going to be those four teams, right?
Yeah.
No one was going to have a chance. Florida wasn't going to beat Alabama.
A&M got hosed.
Yeah. I think they got screwed.
A&M got hosed, and Cincinnati should have been ranked higher than OU.
Cincinnati was another one. They're just. And there's been bring up the classic talk of, hey, that's why we need to go back to the BCS, or we only have four teams.
Well, and that's the problem, because if you look at the BCS, they would have picked the exact same four teams to play in if it were the BCS system picking the college football playoff, it probably would have been the same four teams.
Yeah,
which shouldn't have happened, because if you look at what Texas A&M did, Texas A&M should have been in the college football.
I just think they had. There would have been more interest for me, and I think a lot of people. And
you know what my word of the day would be?
What's that?
Agenda.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it wouldn't surprise anyone if you threw in two SEC teams. Not at all. It's something that could have been done. I mean, I get it numbers-wise, record-wise, why it's Notre Dame, but my goodness, they look terrible. Show today brought to you by Bad Brad's Barbecue. Check them out, 5302 West 6th. Call them up, 377-4141 to get those Christmas orders in.
Who wants to spend hours and hours and hours sweating to death on your sore feet trying to cook dinner for a family that's not going to help you with dishes? Come on.
Nobody. That sounds just awful.
Go to Bad Brad.
Go to Bad Brad so you don't have to do that.
You know your son's not going to help you wash those dishes, Mom.
He's not, Mom. We come back on the
and
afternoon.
then make him go pick it up.
Just make him do everything. Just make him do everything. We come back on the afternoon sports drive. We're going to take a look at Oklahoma State's bowl, heading to the Cheez-It Bowl.
I love Cheez-Its.
Who doesn't?
I love Cheez-Its.
Cheez-Its are the best.
I am A-okay with it.
I am too. They're in the Cheez-It Bowl against a solid Miami team. This should be a really good game. It's coming up.
Whoa. Staring as I go, I gave until my soul hurt, and never told them so. Watching as I fall, somewhere down the
Rounding out first hour afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler and Zach Lancaster. Show today brought to you by Bad Brad's Barbecue. Drive-thru's open for breakfast 5 a.m. Monday through Friday. 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. Lunch, dinner, drive-thru is open 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then Monday through Saturday, 11 to 3. Inside seating available as well, and there's tons of TVs for all the bowl games that are about to go on. The NFL, you can watch it there as well on Sundays, as they're now open 11 to 3. Perfect time there. Barbecue, NFL, college football. Man, that's like the perfect combination. Go check them out at Bad Brad's. So Oklahoma State, we found out they're getting their bowl game. It's going to be in Orlando, Florida, to take on the Miami Hurricanes in the Cheez-It Bowl. Everybody loves Cheez-Its. I actually tried the kind the other day that's called even cheesy or whatever, like double cheese.
I've heard those aren't good.
Oh, no, they're good.
Really? Wow.
They're fantastic.
I've heard they're not good.
You know what's funny? Well, you've got your information from the wrong people.
Yeah, my sister.
Wrong. Incorrect.
You're wrong.
The you know what's funny is
What's that?
Like Cheez-It has probably these endless flavors that they could do, and they're just like sitting on their massive fortune of cheddar. And then it's like, this one's maybe run its course for a while. Let's throw something else out there.
White
and
cheddar.
And the person that's in there is like, even cheesier. And they're like, boom. And they just nail it. And they're like, that is a great idea.
Let's add riches.
Oh my God.
Don't have
mind-blowing.
ranch seasoning. Don't make cheddar barbecue. White cheddar and more cheddar.
Ridges. That's a good. Let's
That's
cut
a
into them a
cheesy
little
chip.
bit. Wow.
That's a cheesy chip.
That's so good.
Get out of here.
I love their marketing department. And because
I will say I hate their commercials.
the only one I liked, not the one where they're all sitting there with the
No.
coach yelling cheese, because we'll see that one a bunch of times.
I've raised you right.
Yeah, the one where the scientist is going in and the cheese is super sassy.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
But only for a small period, because then they played too much on that.
That's true. That's true.
Big news out of Stillwater today.
Yes.
Cowboy back Jelani Woods enters the transfer portal. For those of you that are curious, I called my recruiting guru, the recruiting director, if you will, for PokesReport.com, Marshall Levinson. And I had him look up some stats. So, I didn't have him look this up because I could do this. Jelani Woods this season had 8 receptions for 129 yards and 1 touchdown. Career stats for Jelani Woods, who most people complain that he's not utilized enough. Okay, ready? Jelani Woods finished his 3-year career at Oklahoma State with 31 receptions for 361 yards and 4 touchdowns. Right? That should be a 1-year total for Jelani Woods. Maybe more. So I called Marshall, and you asked me this question, so I called Marshall to get it answered. How many career targets did Jelani Woods have?
Yeah.
Jelani Woods had 31 receptions on 45 career targets. He had 9 targets in 2018. He had 20 last year, and he only had 16 targets this year. Now, I will say something that you can't argue against Jelani is he only had 4 career drops. Four passes were, you can blame him for dropping, only 4. So the other ones were bad throws or whatever. His career passer rating when targeted was 85.5, and that's going off like an NFL passer rating was 85.5. But in his first year, which he had 9 targets, he had a perfect passer rating of 158.3. His passer rating when Spencer Sanders threw him the ball was a 69.6. So really not good. That's bad.
Jelani left Oklahoma State to go somewhere where he will catch the football. Plain and simple.
We learned that Pokes Report learned that he went to Gundy and McIndoe after the Baylor game and said he was going to transfer so he could play closer to home. And that's probably accurate. You know, he probably does want to play closer to home. He'll be a senior. Everyone gets that one free transfer now because of COVID. So I would expect him to go back home towards it. He's from Georgia. He's from Ellenwood. So I would expect him to go somewhere closer to home. The dude everyone knows it. He's gonna be in the NFL. He's gonna be a tight end in the NFL, and he's gonna make a lot of money. He wants to show NFL scouts that he can actually play. And Oklahoma State's offense, they use and they always have used cowboy backs, except for Blake Jarwin, and they didn't even really use him properly. That blocking tight end, blocking fullback, and will throw to you every 45 passes or whatever. Jelani Woods needs to be catching passes because no one can tackle him.
Yeah. And that's one of the first things people told me about Oklahoma State football too. So hey, we don't use the tight ends very much in the passing game. And that's kind of been the case always. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, we'll see how it goes this year. Well, now it was exactly what I was told. And so while he may be using this for a year and somewhat of the reason maybe to go back home, and I'm sure maybe that plays into it fine, but he wants to go somewhere where he's going to be utilized, plain and simple.
Do you know the worst passer rating in the NFL right now? Or how about the best passer rating? Who would you say had the best passer rating in the NFL? It's only one of 2 guys, so you have a 50% chance of missing it.
The best passer rating
this season
between Mahomes and Rodgers? I'd say Rodgers probably has the best passer rating.
by 8.
Yeah.
The worst passer rating is a 70.7, which is slightly better than Spencer Sanders' passer rating when thrown to Jelani Woods.
And
he wears green.
And then, oh god, well,
Sam
yeah,
Darnold.
I mean he doesn't need, he shouldn't even be considered on quarterback stats. But here's the thing with Jelani is he was, if you could go into a lab and design a red zone threat tight end, he is the definition of what that could be. His size, his ability to get open, and I know people, it blows my mind how many times I've heard this recently and this season. Oh, Jelani, he's not good at catching the ball. He's not good at catching the football. He was never even looked at. We just read off the targets, and guess what? Spencer Sanders doesn't go through a progression. When he's reading through his progression, even if he ever attempts to actually do it, he never looks Jelani's way because he doesn't even get there. So I don't want to hear this, we don't throw to him because he doesn't catch the ball. That's not true at all. They're not part of the offense. They're not part of what Spencer Sanders wants to do, plain and simple. And when he got Jelani the ball, and Jelani did catch the football, he made plays, man. I mean, you go back to when he overthrew him in the end zone, right? Wasn't that against TCU? Yeah. That was a pivotal moment.
That was a bad overthrow.
That would have been the touchdown. We could have been talking about a win after that, and you overthrow the guy. So don't tell me that it's all Jelani having no hands. That's not the case. He wants to go somewhere where they're actually going to use him, and simply because of his size.
4 career drops.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I'm fine with you getting a tight end in there and saying, hey, a lot of what you're going to do is block. Well, we're also going to get you the football because it's important to get the tight end involved in the offense. And maybe he was told that when he came here, but
he came here as a quarterback.
Well, that's right. And they switched him over.
Well, and they built him too.
Right.
He came in at 6'7",
Yeah.
220,
Which is
225.
awesome.
They put 50 pounds on this kid.
And when they did that, the goal should have been not only for him to be a premier blocker, but to go out and catch passes and get in the red zone and be a threat.
He should have got at least 5 to 6 targets. Like, it should be in the game plan that Jelani gets 5 to 7 targets every single game.
Oh, I think he was one of the most underused weapons that Oklahoma State had. And they're going to look back, and I think we'll get into more on this later, but wherever he goes, it could be one of those situations, and he might have sat down with the coaches and said, guys, I want to go back home, man. I want to go play closer to home. And they said fine, and maybe he slightly meant that. But what he really wanted to say was, hey, guys, I want to go somewhere and catch the damn football.
So, and I was telling you about this. I couldn't remember the guy's name, but his name's Keenan Brown. Keenan Brown was a receiver that came to Oklahoma State as a 4-star receiver. Moved him to Cowboy back. Didn't really do anything. He grad transferred to Texas State. When he was at Oklahoma State in 2017, so the year before he transferred, he caught 4 passes for 56 yards. Transferred now, so that was 2 years. But if you look at I will say take it with a grain of salt because who Texas State plays is not anywhere near as good as what Oklahoma State plays. He went to Texas State and was a first-team All-American tight end. He had 51 receptions for 577 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now, I'm not saying that wherever Jelani's going to go, he's going to have 51 receptions for 577 yards. But I can guarantee you Jelani is going to be more utilized and he's good enough to land in a South Carolina, Mississippi State kind of maybe you probably drop down a little bit if you wanted to play for like Georgia Tech or maybe South Alabama or something like that. But Jelani's good enough. He could play for a majority of the not Southeast Conference, but Southeast schools in America. And put up some pretty damn good yards. Yeah,
he could have been the best red zone threat in the Big 12. You could have found him in the middle of the field on drives. I mean, move the sticks with him. So I hate that he was so underused because this was an offense that could have used him a lot of times. Imagine what he would have done with an Iowa State.
Yeah,
where that's what they do is use tight ends.
Yeah,
we'd be talking about him as one of the top tight ends in the country. I don't doubt that for a second because he has that ability in his size. If he's that big, okay, and he's that agile, guess what? and he can block like he can, you can work on the hands thing, man. That's something that you can get better.
It's not like you don't have the best receivers coach in the country.
No, exactly. It's something that you can get better. So I don't want to hear that. I'm so tired of this worn-out excuse that he just drops a ball and we couldn't throw it to him. No, he didn't have the quarterback that was good enough to get him the football because he never hardly looked his way, and he didn't have an offense that used him. I think he's one of the most underused players I've seen come through now with Oklahoma State. It's terrible, man. We come back in hour number 2 on the afternoon sports drive. Buy or sell's coming up. One more solid transfer came into Oklahoma State, by the way. Came in, not out. So we'll get to that. And crazy stories out of the NFL, including the New York Jets just going ahead and tossing away all their wishes of getting Trevor Lawrence. Butt fumble.
The New York Jets butt fumbled Trevor Lawrence.
I like that. That is true. When we come back, we'll talk about that.
And I don't know how we make it out when we make that on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow. Both you and me know we gotta let it go. Laying on the ground, wondering why it's so cold. How we make it out when we make out on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow. Both you and me.
Hour number 2, afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Show today brought to you by Bad Brad's Barbecue. After Christmas, you can come in over the weekend, you get college, NFL, football, plus you get Bad Brad's best barbecue ribs, brisket, pulled pork, Polish sausage, Bad Brad's famous burnt ends, which are amazing, hot links, and much more. Football and barbecue, the perfect combination. Go check them out at Bad Brad's, 5302 West 6th. Okay, so before we get into buy or sell, we did have a transfer today coming into Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so we found out earlier this morning that Jelani Woods left, and they picked up an offensive line transfer. He's a 3-year starter for Miami of Ohio. He's a center, which is a huge pickup for Oklahoma State because I would probably lean towards Ry Schneider not coming back next year. But tell me if this isn't one of the most Midwestern names you've ever heard, Danny Godlewski. Godlewski.
That's perfect.
He's a 6'3", 300-pound center. Like I said, he's a 3-year starter. He started in 37 of 40 career games, all at center. He is very capable of making that leap from Group of 5 to Power 5. And we actually talked to him, so it's an exclusive Pokes Report, Triple Play Sports Radio exclusive. He told Pokes Report, it all happened pretty fast. I went to the portal, and right away, Coach Luch and Charlie Dickey hit me up and told me they wanted me. I took a virtual tour of the facilities and of everything, and I liked what I saw. I got to know Coach Gundy and the other coaches. It's just a great fit, and I'm excited about coming to Oklahoma State. Fun fact, this was a little nugget, and it was described as not a little nugget. But we teased people with a little nugget in our preview. Pokes Report has learned that Josh Sills will be back next year, which is massive because he shores up that right tackle spot for you. They're getting and this still, every time I see this, just blows my mind. Caleb Etienne, the JUCO transfer out of Butler. Dude is 6'9", 340 pounds. I mean, that's insane. But the offensive line next year, now, Tom, if you're listening, I want you to listen to my words very carefully here, and I want you to tell me what the key word of this sentence is. The offensive line for Oklahoma State next year should be really good. They have a chance to be really good next year. You return Josh Sills. You get a 3-year career starter in Godlewski, which is still so fun to say, I swear. You get Caleb Etienne in. You look at all the younger guys that play. Jake Springfield's going to shore up your right side. I misspoke earlier. Sills, he's a left guard. So hopefully you're able to get Sills back at that guard position because Josh Sills, for all the hard work he did this year and bailing Oklahoma State out, the man is not a tackle. I'm sorry. He's at least at this level, Josh Sills is not a tackle, and he did what he had to do, what they needed him to do, and he did well. But they'll do really well to get him back at that guard position. Eli Russ has a chance to be really good. He came in, his body was ready. He just needed that experience. So Eli Russ has a chance to be really good. Jake Springfield, we saw a lot of Preston Wilson this year. So you add Caleb Etienne, and he'll need to figure it out. Making that JUCO to Division I Power 5 is a bit of a leap. But then you add Godlewski to this, and then you bring Josh Sills back. The offensive line, just like this season, going into it, the offensive line shouldn't be a problem for OSU.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Yeah, we lose one, you gain one.
Yeah.
That type of day.
And I don't want to lose Jelani Woods, because I think if you utilize Jelani Woods properly, Jelani Woods can be a huge target and a huge threat for OSU. But if we were going to straight up trade for somebody, I would be not that I wanted this to happen, but lose Jelani Woods, get a 3-year division, not a Power 5, but a group of 5 3-year starting center on the same day within a few hours of each other. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That makes that Band-Aid rip a little less painful.
Sure, I agree with that. All right, let's get into it.
Are you buying?
I'd buy that for $1.
Or are you selling?
You pick up the phone and you sell, sell, sell.
This is Buy or Sell on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Make money, money, make money.
Buy or Sell, Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster. All right.
My turn.
Your turn to kick off the week.
You started with Levi, and I'll say this.
Oh, I did.
If I could find your text message. Here we go. I will say this before I get into my buy or sell. Robert will have Godlewski on his radio show tomorrow. I can't remember if he told me if it was like 11, 11:10, 11:30. I don't remember. But I do know he is going to talk to Danny Godlewski tomorrow in the 11 o'clock hour here on Triple Play Sports Radio. So
there you go.
Be sure to tune into that. Okay. As we know, Oklahoma State lost to Texas over the weekend, 77-74. Hell of a lot closer than any of us thought, but the Cowboys kind of collapsed there mid-second half and able to come back, but just not enough to stay consistent. They now have a 13-day break before their next Big 12 game in the start of the year. This 13-day break is exactly what Oklahoma State needs at this point. Buy or sell?
I'm going to buy it because if ever there were a time to tighten some things up, it is right now. And I think it's basically, you're not going to get a break like this anymore throughout the season. So when you do come back from Christmas, it's full throttle until hopefully you make it into March and the end of March or whatever. So you have to be ready to go. Now, I think that things that have to be fixed, free throws have to be fixed.
Absolutely.
I don't care if that means that every single player has to hit 1,000 free throws before they can leave practice. I'm not kidding. Get them up there and make them. I mean, it's something that has to change. You have to be better at defending the three-point line. While I'm shooting free throws, I'd probably make some people shoot some threes too. Yeah. I mean, it's just these things that got to be fixed. So, yes, I think it's exactly what they need, because Mike Boynton, this is an opportunity for him to get his guys in the right state of mind. They get to, you think about it, 13 days off from the loss to Texas. Stings a little less, right? Time heals all wounds type thing. You never want to forget it because it's good to remember, hey, that's where we were. Let's build off of it. But when they come back, they'll be fresh, ready to go against a really good Texas Tech squad, by the way. So the competition's going to be hot as soon as they come out of the gate. So I think it is exactly what they need, because it does give them the opportunity to hit on these few things. Now, if they come out of the break and the same issues are still happening, then we got a different conversation going on, because it's like, okay, what exactly was done over the break? How much work was put in on these things? So, yes. And all of these days that they do practice, man, I'd fill them to the max, man. I mean, I would be, from the second we started practice to 3 hours after practice was supposed to end, we are doing things that we have to fix, because come January, it's do or die time in the Big 12.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it as well. I think this is coming at the right time. Now you look at these last two losses, and they were close, but they had ample opportunity, multiple chances each game to win that game. And when you're looking at young kids like this, a majority of them are freshmen. Now, I know that Ice is a junior, and you got a couple of seniors in Farron Flavors, Bryce Williams, a couple of sophomores that's been through the ringer, Avery and the Boone twins and Chris Harris and all that. But this is a young team that these freshmen aren't used to losing. You go back to their high school days and they're winning games, and they lose 2 heartbreakers in which mistakes cost the game. So you give them 13 days, you allow them to go home, see their families, relax a little bit, get them back in after the holidays, and you hammer them.
Exactly.
Like you said, time heals all wounds, so that Texas loss is going to be a little, it's going to be a bit of a reprieve. But once they get back on campus, I'm setting them down, and if I'm Boynton and the coaching staff, I'm taking my video coordinator and I'm chopping up that Texas game, and I'm making all the mistakes. I'm taking all the free throw misses, all the 3-point misses, all the turnovers, the technical foul, all the silly ticky-tack fouls, and I'm splicing them together into an hour clip. And as soon as they get back on campus, I'm going to play that clip, and I'm going to say, all right,
then replay it.
Look at this turnover. Look at this turnover.
Yeah.
Look at this missed free throw. Look at this miss. And then we're going to go out there and we're going to practice for the maximum amount of time the NCAA allows. And then I'm going to talk to them about a quote-unquote voluntary free throw session after practice, and we're going to stay there for, like you said, a couple hours, and we're going to sink hundreds of free throws.
Well, it's never been a question in my mind that the work ethic isn't there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because this team, and I mean, that's a mantra, right? Let's work.
And you can see them work.
Yeah, but the quality of work.
Yeah.
Every single rep, and I mean every single rep, has to have meaning now. Buy or sell that sticking with Oklahoma State basketball. We saw Matthew Alexander Moncrief make his first start, which I lobbied for.
Yeah.
I was there. I wanted that to happen. We saw it happen. I think it was 6 points, 5 rebounds, something like that.
I think so, yeah.
So
right.
not like a stellar performance, but he did. He made a difference. Buy or sell that he continues to stay in this starting lineup, or are we going to see it shuffled around again?
I think I'll sell it on the fact that I think we're going to see it shuffled a little bit. I think we're going to. I don't know if we're ever. The way it looks right now, I don't think we're going to see a set rotation, a set starting lineup for maybe not till the end of January or February, because they've got to get it figured out. We see several different rotations of lineups. They'll go all small. They'll go 4 small and medium at the 5. I think we saw Cade at the 5 at some point this year. I think it was Wichita State maybe. But I don't think we'll see a set starting lineup until maybe the end of January. But I'll say that I think Moncrief starts more than half of the remaining games, and I think it's 17, I think, or something like that. Mid to late teens, the amount of games left.
Yeah.
I'll buy that he starts more than half.
Okay.
But I'll sell that he continually starts. I think it's shuffled.
I'm gonna buy it, and part of it is me wanting it to happen, continue to happen. Because yes, I know that maybe they didn't get the maximum production they were hoping from him in that starting role, but I'm telling you, if you watch him play, he's right there, man. He is right there. And he's just uber athletic. Yeah. He can flip the switch also at any moment. And if you get into a situation where he and Cade are both on the floor and are playing at that elite level that they can, that's when you start saying, hey, Oklahoma State's turning the corner, man. So I think they're going to stick with him for now. But I'm with you. Would I be surprised they switch things up to continue to try to find that 5 that they're really looking for? No, not at all. Yeah. What else you got?
So we kind of hit on a little bit there towards the end of that last segment of the first hour. But wherever Jelani Woods lands, and I think it's going to be that southeastern region of the country. Maybe not in Georgia, but you're looking at Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina, God forbid, Florida. Somewhere down south, wherever he lands, Jelani goes off and has a monster season before going into the NFL by herself. And monster's relative. Monster for a tight end, 400 to 600 yards, which is an insane amount for a college tight end.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna sell that he goes off, but I will buy that he is utilized like a tight end, because wherever he lands, that I'm telling you, that's the first thing he talks with the coaches about is, hey, I left Oklahoma State because I wasn't getting an opportunity ever to catch the football. And all they got to say is, That changes right now.
Yeah.
You're going to be a part of this offense when we throw the football. You're going to be targeted in the red zone. We're going to have plays drawn up where you are the primary guy. So, yeah, he's going to have a much better role wherever he goes. If he doesn't, then that's just stupid. If he doesn't, then that school hasn't properly looked at what he has the potential to do. So I will buy that part. But will he go off? No. As much as I would love to read next year that wherever he goes, he's dominating. I'm rooting for him like you. I want him to succeed because I don't think he got the real shot to do so here at Oklahoma State.
I'm going to push semantics on this one, and I'm going to buy that he goes off because you look at what he did this year. He had 8 receptions for 129 yards and 1 touchdown. Going off could simply mean he triples his receptions because you look at anyone that goes, 8 receptions to 100 for 129 yards and 1 touchdown, and then the next season he's setting it 30 receptions for 350 or 400 and 4 touchdowns. I mean, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's turned the corner. And especially if for a tight end that size, I'll buy it. Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and he's going to haul in, 45 receptions for 627 yards and 9 touchdowns, but I think it's at least triple what he did here, and triple of 8 receptions is what, 27, 8, 16, 24. I don't know my math. What is 8 times 3?
24. 24. Yep. 24. Yep.
Oh, good God. I mean, you're looking at 129 times 3 is 387. I'll say 400.
Okay.
I'll say he goes 30 receptions for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, Jesus. I mean, just look at his career yards. His career receptions and career yards, 31 for 361 and 4 touchdowns. He could do that in one season if used properly.
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
Yeah, I just hope.
Go get that.
That's right.
Get that bag, Jelani.
I hope he succeeds wherever he goes. Buy or sell. 2 weeks ago, no, just last week, we were talking about that Derrick Henry needed to average 156 yards on the ground to get to 2,000 rushing yards this season. Against the Lions yesterday, he puts up 147.
Yeah.
That was close. He could have had more. They pulled him. It was one of those games where he put another dude in a body bag on a stiff arm. His stiff arm is unlike anything I've ever seen. Those are all going to be hanging up in his man cave when he retires. All the photos of guys that he has just put into the dirt. He's unstoppable. He's really on a historic pace right now. 2 more games left.
Yeah.
He's got Green Bay this upcoming Sunday night, this next Sunday night. Then he has the Texans to round out the season. Buy or sell that he reaches that 2,000-yard mark. He would need 321 yards over those next 2 games to get there.
Oh, man. What is that? 360 and a half or 160 and a half? Is that right?
I think that's about right. Yep. Per game. Yep.
Man. That's going to be... I think he gets at least that much against Houston. I think it'd probably be pushing it against Green Bay. I'll sell it because I don't think he can get 160 plus against Green Bay. I think he can get pretty damn. Now if he can put up like 170, 180, 190 against Houston, then maybe he could get close with Green Bay. But I'll sell it. I think he gets somewhere between 850 and 1900, 1850 and 1900.
Yeah.
But I can't see him hitting that 2000 mark. Not with Green Bay.
Seeing Green Bay's defense has been not great against the run this year. I kind of want to buy it because I think Mike Vrabel's going to feed him even more. Now he's getting like near 30 touches a game,
right?
Which is your true workhorse back. He had 24 carries yesterday. So I think that Mike Vrabel, obviously he knows where he is right there, would be completely fine with basically giving him every single touch. That means you're playing 4 downs, and while you don't want to just run him into the dirt, he doesn't seem to have any, show any signs of slowing down. His motor never gives out. So, but yeah, that's a lot of yards in these last 2 games.
Who is it? Tannehill?
Yeah, their QB. Yeah,
I could see Green Bay selling out
on the run
to stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
which allows Tannehill to have a pretty big game.
And that's what's been so great is that the Titans set up everything they do with Derrick Henry, but Ryan Tannehill, when he plays like he did yesterday, That's what makes them such a scary team, man. They're going to be scary in the postseason again. But so I'm going to sell it as much as I want to buy it. I really hope he gets there because he's
Playing the odds. It's smart.
yeah, he's just so fun to watch, man. He doesn't go down ever. It seems like he runs through everybody. The speed is underrated for his size, right? I mean, he is a huge dude, and he just dominates. So Zach's playing music over there.
That happen?
That's kind of what the music I imagine goes on in Derrick Henry's head when he's running the football.
The Never Back Down
Yeah.
album. One of the most underrated movies
Yeah.
of all time, by the way. Never Back Down. If
Yeah.
you've never seen it, go watch it.
Derrick Henry never
I
backs
don't even
down.
know how that happened.
They heard Derrick Henry. They were like, "Ooh, let's go."
Freaked me out.
He's just a beast, man. So I'm gonna sell it, but I really, really, really hope it happens.
Yeah.
It won't be like though when Adrian Peterson, whenever it was a number of years ago, he finished like 8 yards away.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know how you couldn't have got 8 more yards to complete that.
That to me means that he just didn't really care.
Yeah.
Like if you're good enough, you know, like it's like when you're pumping gas, you get to the point where like you're at 10:01 and you're just like, I could probably squeeze out 99 cents, but I really don't care. I'm just going to hang the handle back up because 10:01 is aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, well.
If you're 8 yards away and you're Adrian Peterson, like if I were good enough in the NFL, I'm petty enough that if I needed to get, like if I read on social media that I needed to get 150 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns to give 90% of America their fantasy football win, I would do my damnedest to get like 145 and 1 touchdown,
Man.
just to screw people,
Hey.
screw the bettors.
Derrick Henry is carrying fantasy football owners to a championship, I'm sure, everywhere. When we come back here on the Afternoon Sports Drive, we'll finish up our buy or sell. Got to talk about the Jets. They managed to not even lose right. So we'll talk about that and what we learned coming up, too, on the Afternoon Sports Drive. Stay with us.
Can't get enough Cowboy fans? Visit the new
I don't wanna wait for our lives to be over. It happened, but you take it how you left it. It's a give and take. Take your time, take me under. I wanna know, but you show me what I'm missing. In the playground of Southern California, running in the streets all day. I guess some of us just gotta learn the hard way. Don't give a damn what nobody gotta say. We just sell it now. I don't wanna wait for our lives to be over. If it happened now, would you take it how you left it? This a give and take. So take your time, take me under. I wanna know, could you show me what I'm missing?
Back. The Afternoon Sports Drive. Triple A Sports Radio. Yeah. They're having Mandalorian discussions over the
Oh,
break.
man.
That episode was wild. I won't spoil it, but
You're lucky that
it's good.
if anyone out there hasn't seen the new episode of The Mandalorian, the season finale, single-handedly one of the greatest pieces of Star Wars content ever produced.
Or if you're one of those people that's like, I was gonna start watching it and I never have.
You need to.
If you ever needed a reason, it's to get to this final episode,
gosh.
right? So
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
And you know that when they bring back next season and Grogu, or for the uncultured swine, Baby Yoda, it's gonna be, he'll come back and it'll like I just have a feeling that it'll be 2 or 3 years into the future, you know, and he'll have, you know, he'll be able to talk. But what was so funny was they're gonna come back and, like, right now he's a baby, he can't talk, but they're gonna come back and it's gonna be like adolescent Yoda, adolescent Grogu, and he's gonna have acne and his voice is gonna crack, you know, and he's just gonna be all angsty and
adolescent Yoda.
he's gonna wear it's not gonna be a brown cloak, it'll be a black cloak, and he pulls it down and he straightens the hair on top of his hair, and it on top of his
Teen
head
Rebellion.
covers up one eye, gets his nose pierced.
That's too good. That is too good.
Gets gauges in his ears.
Oh man!
Shut up, Mando! You're not my dad.
You're
You're not my real
I gotta
dad.
do a radio show. Why are you doing this to me right now? That's too good. Adolescent Yoda. We've trademarked like 3 things today.
Oh, he's gonna listen to like Daft Punk.
Oh, I love them. I'm like you. Gonna wait forever for it to come back. That's the part that kills me, man. They do that with the best shows.
Well, yeah, because you look at it, and each one has come out like in the fall.
Yeah.
But we have to wait until, I think they said Christmas.
That's
Christmas
wild,
of 21
man.
for a new season. This is the worst part because that was the best episode of, and there's been some really good ones, but that was the best episode.
Yeah.
And I think that the hype and the amount of people that are watching it now is more than it's ever been. And now it's like, well, sorry, you're going to have to wait 365
Now that we've got that huge audience.
Now that we've
get
announced
ready.
that we're going to come out with hundreds
Yeah.
of new
Yeah.
episodes of all kinds of fun stuff, we're going to tease Samuel L. Jackson coming back potentially. We're going to make you wait for another Mandalorian episode.
They do it to us. Why do they do it to us? All right, let's finish
Yeah,
up
we
by
gotta
ourselves.
finish.
All right, what's that last one you got for me? I may already know, but I have to let you read it.
So, obviously, Oklahoma State playing the Cheez-It Bowl.
The Cheez-It Bowl.
Love Cheez-Its. Not Cheese Nips. People like Cheese Nips over Cheez-Its are wrong.
That's like the Mr. Pibb to your Dr. Pepper.
And that's not even a fair comparison.
Okay.
Cheese Nips are awful. Awful. I would rather drink Dr. Thunder than eat Cheese Nips.
That's nasty. Anyways, that's
Miami's
really gross.
Miami's a good team.
Yeah.
And at times when they play sound football, Oklahoma State's a really good football team. We saw on Twitter today that there's a potential report out there. According to sources, Tylan Wallace wants to play in this ball game.
Yeah.
Weird. I don't know if there's any validity to that. That's going to be a Robert digging into this kind of a thing. But there's reports that Tylan could come back and play in that bowl game. Buy or sell, Oklahoma State can beat Miami. Not will beat, but Oklahoma State can beat Miami in the Cheez-It Bowl.
Can buy. Yeah. Because, yes, they can. Miami, Derek Keene is a problem. You know, watched him a lot this season.
And we know what running quarterbacks can do.
So we do, and they dominate Oklahoma State. And they're really, Derek Keene is really athletic. Yeah, he can do it all. And I think, right, this is the only ranked bowl game out of the New Year's Six, I believe, with two ranked teams. I mean, so it's super competitive in that way, where you've got two teams that are, top 25 squads. And so yes, I think they can. The whole Tylan thing, I'm with you. I mean, like I don't know why he would. And people are trying to say, well, it's just the type of guy he is. Okay, I mean that's great. He can be a great guy, but how many times I gotta say that he's got way too much riding on his future to go out there and play another game, especially one that doesn't matter like this bowl game. So, well, I mean, it matters, but we know to the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, I'm gonna buy that they can. Will they? I'll save that for next week when we give our prediction. Again, that's on the 29th. So, yeah, they definitely can, but I'll say this, a lot of things have to go right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that I'll buy that they can beat Miami. Because at times when Oklahoma State comes together, if they put up a performance like they did against Texas, they can beat Miami. Now, obviously, you can't give up multiple big plays. You can't turn the ball over 3 or 4 times. You got to limit your turnovers. But I think Oklahoma State can beat them. I think Oklahoma State very well could beat them. I think that you give them a month to relax. Now, you're not going to have Rodarius. You're not going to have Chuba. Tylan, man, that I could see him playing in the bowl game, but it just doesn't make sense that he would play in the bowl game. I understand it from these are my brothers and I want to be out there with them, but just show up. Don't announce you're going to leave until after the bowl game, but show up, be in uniform, be with your team, but there's no reason to put him out there.
No.
None.
Didn't play Baylor for a reason, and it wasn't just injury.
No, you don't go out there to win a Cheez-It Bowl trophy. Now, you want to win that game, but Tylan don't need to be out there.
No.
But we found out that the offensive line can do fairly well. We found out that Dominic Richardson is a really good running back. We knew that, but he proved it, and I get that it's Baylor, but you still proved it. We saw, Des Jackson went out there and proved once again that he was a talented running back. You'll have Shane Illingworth back, from his COVID quarantine, so he'll be able to go out there. And I think you'll see 2 quarterbacks.
I agree.
And it won't be because Spencer's struggling. I think we'll see 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think we'll see it happen. And I could be wrong, and people are like, that's not true. But I'll buy it, and I think they have a chance of doing it. I'm looking forward to getting a little closer to it and really discussing it in depth. But
yeah, for sure. And again, that'll happen next week. We do know we'll have Orange Nation game day coverage like normal, by the way, on that Tuesday. We'll get those dates and times out later on too. So yeah, get ready for that. Last one for me: buy or sell if you had to choose right now. Yeah. Because we have 2 weeks left in the regular season in the NFL. But buy or sell right now if you had to choose between Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes as your MVP.
Well, man, that's a good one. If you're simply going off of stats, Mahomes has close to 1,000 yards more, but I mean, there's no doubt that Patrick Mahomes is MVP candidate. He'll be one of the final two to win that MVP. Same with Aaron Rodgers. I think they'll both be in that top 3 or top 4. But for what Aaron Rodgers has been able to do this year and turn it around, Patrick Mahomes is a freak of nature. 25 years old, one of the richest players in the league of all time. Almost 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, only 5 picks. But you look at Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron's 37. He's got close to 4,000 yards. He has 40 touchdowns, which is number 1 in the league, and he's tied for second with only 4 interceptions. I would have to think that those other quarterbacks that have thrown 4 or fewer probably have less than 5 games. I think Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback, but I think what Aaron Rodgers has done to keep Green Bay in it, making them contenders, I would have to give it to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's where people are leaning when they look at Aaron Rodgers. Last I checked, Mahomes is still favored in Vegas.
Probably. And you're not wrong either way.
That's the thing. They're both right now it's going to be a tight race. This isn't a runaway situation here, which was funny because of halfway through, a little before halfway through the season, it was all Russell Wilson. Yeah. And there was no one going to come close. At one point, it seemed like it was going to be all Josh Allen. And I think he's probably deserves some more looks right now. But it's crazy how the league changes, right? I mean, Russell Wilson out of the talk. And it's Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. And so, Patrick Mahomes throwing right now, as we talked about with his stats, 4,462 yards, the 36 touchdowns to just the 5 picks. And you look at, I think they take into plenty of account of its most valuable player, what he means to that team, right? So Aaron Rodgers, what he means to the team, and Patrick Mahomes, what he means to the team. Without both those guys,
under 500.
We're talking about 2 below-average football teams.
Who is Kansas City's backup quarterback?
Right now, it's Chad Henne. Yeah. So,
who's Green Bay's backup?
I was Jordan Love. I forgot they got him in the draft, right? Yeah. So is he still there? Yeah, he'd be their backup. So, which is better than what they used to have, but still, he's maybe the future. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. So, when you look at what they mean to the team, that's even hard to kind of split up. I think Mahomes, I would probably give it to him right now based off of his numbers as well as what he's done record-wise. I mean, the one loss, right, has been to the Raiders. Mm-hmm. You're able to go 13-1 right now. I know some of the losses last couple of weeks have been evidence that they haven't been pretty wins, I should say, but they're still wins.
Still finding that way.
You're 13-1. There's a lot of teams that would love to be 13-1 that aren't. Now, the Packers are a couple losses, right? They're right behind. So I think he has the slight edge. But, man, it's going to come down to the wire because Aaron Rodgers has just played lights out. He doesn't slow down. And it's even more impressive, I think, to everybody at his age what he's doing right now, right? He just got another 40-touchdown season, which is not easy to do. It was funny because they talked to him and said, asked him about that accomplishment. He said he's just glad that Patrick Mahomes is young right now because that record's going to be broken here eventually. But he's glad that there's still a little time before Mahomes catches up. But the respect between those two is great to see as well. So it's kind of a passing of the torch, I think. But I cannot stress this enough. I sat here in the offseason over and over. And when Jordan Love got picked, everybody that talked about it before was like, well, that somewhat made sense because Aaron Rodgers didn't throw the ball great last year. He wasn't great. He's declining like a lot of these older quarterbacks. And I said, he's going to come back. He's the type of guy, reminds me of Tom Brady. He's the type of guy that's going to come back with a chip on his shoulder, a really, really large chip on his shoulder, and he's going to play lights out. And he's going to show everyone that picking Jordan Love shouldn't have happened, and he shouldn't have traded up to get a quarterback because I still have what it takes. And he's doing that. He's showing the franchise. He's showing the NFL. Doesn't matter what you do. You go get a quarterback. I'm not going to let anything waver me because I've seen it all, done it all. I'm about to do it again. That's next level, man. So I think he's right there. Did I come into the season, though, thinking we'd be talking about him and Patrick Mahomes fighting for the MVP at the end of the year? I didn't think he'd be that good. But if you look at the teams that have the best shot to make the Super Bowl, tell me it's not Packers and the Chiefs right now.
Yeah.
Packers have the best shot in the NFC to get there, man. The Chiefs have a serious competition, I think, coming up with the Bills before it's all said and done. But other than that, they could be having a chance to get back there again. So I can't get enough of these two quarterbacks. They're really fun to watch. And if I had to give it, I'd probably give it to Mahomes right now. But again, this is one of those things
Homer.
that's, yeah, right, yeah. It's maybe one of those things that's like changing almost week in and week out.
Kansas City Sports Hour.
It is, yeah. We're getting into it, that's for sure. And we'll get more into the Chiefs tomorrow because it was a good win for them. They beat the Saints. That was a game where you were looking at two of the best teams again in the NFL, saying who's going to come out on top, and they snuck that one out again. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Coming up, we're going to get into the Jets a little bit as well as what we learned here on the Afternoon Sports Drive Show today, brought to you by Bad Brad's Barbecue. Back after this. Welcome back, Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Rounding it out today, show brought to you by Bad Brad's Barbecue. You have just over 2 hours to get in there. No, just
Under
over
1 hour.
1 hour. Yeah, do some math here. Just under 1 hour to get your orders in for Christmas. 6 o'clock is the deadline. You can get your ready-to-go smoked turkeys, spiral hams, 12-pound turkeys, 20-pound turkeys. All the sides and fixins, pies, not pumpkin cobbler, but pumpkin pie. And you could ask for pumpkin cobbler. I don't know what would happen, but you could ask and see what happens. So definitely don't tell them that I said that. But make sure you go check them out and get those orders in. So real quick before we get to what we learned. Yesterday, the New York Jets decided in Week 15 that they weren't going to go 0-16. In fact, they were going to win a game against the Los Angeles Rams, which blows everybody's mind because it's, first of all, the Jets winning, which isn't supposed to happen ever, and it's against the Rams that were leading the NFC West and looking like they were going to be a solid playoff team. And it's like, what exactly made that possible? Well, I'll tell you what made it possible. And I said this over and over too this year, talking about the Rams, is they got into this really weird play calling system this season where all of a sudden we are going to be a run football team. And we're going to run it in the red zone too. And like that wasn't fooling anybody. You know? Everyone was like, well, used to the Rams being this pass-heavy team, and they did a lot of interesting things with Sean McVay. Sean McVay was what everybody in the league was like, we need anyone, if you were connected to Sean McVay at all, if you slept in the same hotel with Sean McVay, you were getting a job in the NFL. Well, now all of a sudden we're going to be this super run-heavy, boring football team, and everybody's caught up. I don't get it. I don't get the idea. It's like they're saying, we got rid of Todd Gurley. We're going to prove that we can run it with 3 different guys. Okay. Well, I agree. Cam Akers is super talented. You have Jared Goff, who at times is good. You have 2 really, I think, stud receivers and a couple good tight ends. Use them. Blows my mind. So Jared Goff, just awful. I mean, he just looked downright terrible in this game. And it was a Jets defense, for crying out loud. They just got a brand new guy filling in the coordinator because they fired Greg Williams. It's like it wasn't even hard to do. But he was acting like he'd never seen these schemes before. He looked confused. He was throwing balls in the dirt. It was 3 and out after 3 and out. And when he finally came alive in the second half, too late. Even against the Jets team, it was too late. Blew my mind. But that's what right there. If I'm a Rams fan, I am super worried about this team because they could come into any point and just lay an egg like that. And they're right out of the postseason. This was a Rams team that a few years ago was in the Super Bowl. Yeah. And now look at them. They just lost to the Jets. It's really crazy to see that. Now the Jets, did they play good? I mean, not necessarily. It was more just the Rams playing bad. Let's be honest. Sam Darnold wasn't just god-awful, but still. So the biggest storyline, obviously, is that the Jets, they lose this game. Now they're basically out of the running for Trevor Lawrence. They were the surefire team to get Trevor Lawrence for the first overall pick all the way through this season. The Jacksonville Jaguars were right behind them with just one win. They won the first game of the season, haven't won since. Now they have a 73% chance to get Trevor Lawrence. That's how much it shifted.
So if you're Jacksonville, you're tanking.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, it's like we cannot win.
Yeah. These last two games, they play the Colts, which should be a loss. I forget who the other one is, but it's someone else that obviously should also
Can you imagine if you're the Jags owner and your team goes out there and wins one of those two games?
That's what you're saying.
You just pray to God the Jets win again.
And you know what? They just threw Gardner Minshew back into quarterback. And if I'm the Jags, I'm saying let's get Mike Glennon back in there. Let's not use James Robinson anymore. Let's pull DJ Shark. Let's just whatever, because we need to get. Absolutely. They were set on Justin Fields. Now all of a sudden it's no. We're getting Trevor Lawrence. The only way the Jets can get Trevor Lawrence is if the Jags manage to win one of these two games and the Jets continue to lose out. And it's funny because you see the Jets are playing the Browns next. Browns, killed the Giants last night. Kevin Stefanski's like, "Hey, I told my guys to get ready. The Jets are no team to look over." I'm like, yeah, come on now. They won one game, and it was against a really, really bad-looking Rams team for whatever reason. But they don't even lose right. It just blows my mind. The Jets can't do anything right. They don't even lose right. They've lost their chance at Trevor Lawrence. We said this earlier. Trevor Lawrence has to be the happiest guy in the world because he actually has weapons that he's going to go and be able to use. In Jacksonville, there was nobody with the Jets, man. So everybody as a Jets fan is ticked off. They're thinking, why in the world this meant nothing to them to win this game, and yet they managed to do it. Just craziness out of that game yesterday. If I'm a Rams fan, I'm sweating the bullets right now. All right, let's get into this round out the show.
Coming to an end. Time to find out if these two got any smarter.
The question is, what did you learn?
Let's find out what the guys learned today on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Well, I learned something today.
What I learned is something that I think plenty of people will be thrilled and happy about in the sports world, and that's that Kentucky basketball is off to a historically bad start.
Yeah, they are.
A historically bad start after dropping to 1-5 now on the season. Yeah, you heard that right. They lost to North Carolina over the weekend. I watched that game. Kentucky, you can see that the immaturity of some of the these really young players has finally caught up. And there's plenty of times where John Calipari has gotten the top guys in that system, and usually they're so good, and I mean so good, that they're able to overcome all these little things that come with being young in college basketball, which we've seen, by the way, plenty here at Oklahoma State. But they're able to usually overcome that. Not the case this year. They were up on North Carolina, and it was a back-and-forth game. Probably should have won that game, if I'm being honest, the way that Carolina played, but then they come back and win. So you look at their start, and you think to yourself, okay, has it finally come to a head in terms of John Calipari and his one-and-dones and continuing to rotate guys in and out? We've talked about it before in college basketball. You get some guys that have been around for 2 or 3 years, right? And how big does that help a program? Experience in the college basketball world seems like it's a rare thing these days, especially blue bloods. But when you get it, it can be the difference between winning a national title sometimes. So the youth is being exposed on this Kentucky team. I saw that plain and simple on Saturday. But again, I don't think too many people are shedding tears. It'd be the same thing if Duke was going 1-5, or Kansas or Carolina to some people, or whatever, any blue blood team.
Some people. Carolina for most people.
They got to enjoy it last year.
Carolina for most.
They got to enjoy it last year. But
it wasn't enough.
But they had a losing record.
But now we have Kentucky.
Okay, so you get 2 years in a row where it's like Carolina, now Kentucky. Now
Krzyzewski, you're next.
Yeah, now if Duke and Kansas can follow suit, oh yeah, that's good stuff.
I'm actually also going to stick with basketball, and I'm going to stick with Kansas. Today marks the 129th birthday of the game we celebrate and cherish. Dr. James Naismith, 129 years ago today, created the game of basketball.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
129 years.
129 years. Now, obviously, we've developed the game from
Have we?
peach baskets and rubber bladders inside of cow stomachs.
Such a good idea, though.
Right.
At the time. He was onto something, right?
He was. He really was. So, if you love basketball, 129 years ago today, that game was created by Dr. James Naismith.
Thank you, Mr. Naismith.
No doubt.
Appreciate everything you did for everybody.
So what better on a day, the 129th birthday, what better than to celebrate Kentucky starting off 1-5?
Right? It just goes hand in hand.
Not much better.
Just goes hand in hand. That's awesome.
It really does.
Yeah, I like to think about, like, putting myself in the mind of a Kentucky fan being so used to winning, because we saw this hasn't been this way since like 1926.
Early to mid 20s.
That's insane. You imagine being a fan that's just, so consistently used to constant winning seasons, top seeds in the tournament, making runs in the tournament, national titles.
Well, and think about what kind of devastation a Kentucky fan must live in, because when you get to that point, it's literally national title or bust.
Oh yeah.
They don't care about SEC titles. They don't care about Sweet 16 berths or Elite 8 or Final Four. They want to win that championship. When was the last time Kentucky won one? It's been hadn't been a long time.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
It's been a while. And they were a couple years ago. I know this because it's probably my favorite moment of all time in sports, believe it or not. But when they were playing in the regional semifinal, I think it was, right, a few years ago, and it was number 1 North Carolina, number 2 Kentucky, and Luke May hits the buzzer beater against Kentucky. And the best video of all time is the video in the sports bar in Lexington, where all the fans, they see Malik Monk hit the 3-point shot to tie, which was nuts, a crazy shot, and they're all, and then they come down with like 5 seconds. Luke May wins the game, and I've never seen just the drop.
Oh, it was insane.
It's just,
they haven't won since 2012.
Wow, yeah.
8 years.
Yeah.
Almost 9 years.
So for them, that right there is like we're on a drought of national championship.
Terrible stretch.
Yeah. And
now you're 1-5.
You can't beat anybody.
Welcome to the real world, Kentucky fans.
I saw somebody write today that they might not even be the best team in Kentucky because they named all these little schools, and including Louisville that has a better record.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky, with Eastern Kentucky, all these schools that are like have better records. It's too good.
That's awesome.
It's been the Afternoon Sports Drive here on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Show brought to you by Bad Brad's. Go get in your Christmas orders before 6 o'clock, and you can lock those up and get ready for the holiday, just a few days away, so make sure you do that. I'm Patrick Wheeler. That's Zach Lancaster. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Try not to enjoy the Muppets.
Don't forget the Muppets.
I'm really upset about that. I'm going to go home and write.
You'll love it.
I'm going to go write ESPN a letter.
You'll like it.
I'm not going to like
You're
it.
going to go back to your childhood. You'll get to watch Kermie and Miss Piggy.
No, it's going to be rage.
Waka waka.
It's going to be straight rage. I'm sorry, it just is. We'll go back tomorrow. We'll finish up the week. It'll be our last show. And then don't forget, next week on the 29th, we will have Orange Nation game day coverage for Oklahoma State and Miami in their bowl game.
For those of you that tomorrow is our last day until next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll be the last show we have until next week, so make sure to tune in for it. This has been the Afternoon Sports Drive on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Everybody have a great Monday evening.